Hey, welcome back guys. So I'm doing the checking the tank. I did already stick a hose in here. Just a clear hose. Just to put it in the bottom of the tank. I'll do it again. I just wanted to see how much fuel was in here. You can feel it hit the bottom of the tank. It's kind of hard doing this with one hand, and then just blow into the hose, and it's just blowing air. So I doubt there's any fuel in there, but I'm going to reverse pressurize it, and then show you how to pressurize the tank. But there's only a little bit in there, probably just a little bit laying on the bottom of the tank. We'll hang this up. Sorry guys. Now what I've done is I've got my air hose here. Sorry it leaks. They all do, you know that. I've cranked it right down to just on 10 pound. You don't want too much pressure because you don't want to blow the lines out. And then we'll try and do this without messing that up too much. And I'll turn the light on. See, they put you on a stand. And then we just grab the fuel line that was down here. That was going to the tank. So what I'm doing is just putting a small zip tie on the trigger. Sorry about the air leaking. There's barely anything coming out of there. Hardly. And then stick it on the hose. And then we go back here. See if we can hear the... Yes, I can hear the air coming through. So this line is empty. But now I'll show you how to do it the other way. You can get it set up. So we do the same again on this side, and this is what I've made. I made a little fitting on here. So you just stick it on the gas tank. You only want very low pressure because you don't want to blow the tank out or the lines out. Like I say, I max it out about 10 psi. Stick it on there. Put it on first, it's easier. There. Blow it out. I know the tank's empty because I heard it blowing air, so that's how I pressurize the tank. And everything's right. There's nothing coming out the other end, and that's awkward doing this. Yes, I can feel air coming out of that hose. So this tank is empty. The tank was drained. So that's good. That saves me having to clean the tank out. And the sock is not blocked obviously because the air is coming through. So I think we're ready to... I might just put the battery in today and see if we can get this cranking going before we pull that carburetor off. So let me get you set up again on the stand, and I'll retrieve a battery and see what happens. So I'm just going to throw a small battery in it. That was laying here. I charged it the other day for the trailer. It should have enough juice. Just looking at this cable, this cable's been shorted out somewhere. It's got some hot spots in it. Hear that? That's the relay for the windows and everything. So that means the ignition must be on. So let's turn the key here. Yep, key's on. You guys hear that? Just a click. I think this is why this car was parked. So we can do something else. I can stick a jumper wire on the solenoid on the starter motor and jump it directly to the battery, because it could be an ignition problem, because up there the wires have been chopped up too, being hacked and spliced. So I wonder if that's maybe the problem. Get my multimeter out and see if we've got power going through as well. So let me get all the tools set up and we'll test that. Okay, I've got my multimeter. I just want to see I've got power on the other side. It's a ground. We've got 12 volts there. I just want to check on this side of the cable. 12. Can't really probe that. Okay, because this should originally was bolted down onto that firewall. So just stick that in there. Yep. Okay, so I'm going to have to find I've got some jumper wires. Actually see some wires disconnected down there. I don't know what they were for. Okay, just let me investigate a little bit more and I'll come back to you. But we've got power on both sides of this connection. Just wanted to make sure there was no corrosion and nothing was stopping the power running through. We've got 12 volts there, 12 volt, 1233. The battery's a little bit low, but it's been sitting for a couple of weeks. So I've got to figure out, there's a couple of wires loose here. You know what? I know what it is. I think I figured it out. The alternator's missing. Missing the alternator. So that's part of the power supply. So it's not wired up. Okay, I'm going to have to go and pluck an alternator out of another engine, another vehicle, and put it back in, see what happens. Wonder why the alternator's missing. Might have been stolen. Yeah, it was sitting in the guy's barn. So let me find an alternator and I'll be back with you. Okay, let's see if we can find an alternator. That white car there has basically become a parts car. This car came out of California. The story was the owner had the car painted, had the engine and transmission rebuilt back in the 90s, and then he passed away and the car sat. It was originally a triple black car. Yeah, painted it white, but yeah, family just got rid of it. My friend Martin got it and he was going to pull the motor out, and I see the alternator's already gone. So let's take a look around. I might be able to pull that carburetor off there as well. It looks a little bit better than the one that was on the car. Martin took the valve covers off. He was getting them chromed and he wanted to keep them, so that was fine. I don't want chrome valve covers. But I think that engine's sold. A woman in Phoenix that brought a Mark III and she got scammed. From what I've heard from the chatter on Facebook, it sounds like the car sat in the winter somewhere and the block cracked and they tried to JP weld it shut, and she drove it and it didn't last long and it puked all the coolant out. So as far as Martin knows, this is a good engine and transmission, and I need the transmission out of it too. My blue car has got a bad O-ring in it. Takes a little while for it to get going when it's cold. You've got to sit there for about 5 minutes, wait for it to warm up, and then it starts up. It's getting a little old, sitting in the car waiting for it to warm up. But let's see what we can find. There's a set of bellows. There's nothing here. Oh, here we go. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. That's the baby. Hopefully I've got a bolt for it. And there's a Ford remanufactured part. What's a bolt? Oh, there's the bolt. Yay! So I'm going to have to throw in an alternator in the car. Hopefully that is the bolt for it. I think it is. The one that goes through here. Yep. And the others, that's probably the upper bolt. Goes in here. No, it's not, it's too big. But that's not a problem. I can scrounge one of those up, but I need that long bolt. Okay, back to the shop. Another thing, I haven't heard back from the insurance yet about the roof. It probably doesn't really show on the camera, but the roof's tore up. That one there's just about half gone. I spoke to the adjuster the other day. I had to send him some photos. I haven't heard back. And then tomorrow we're supposed to get 6 to 10 inches of snow, so this is going to be fun. So I'm going to have to move some stuff because I know the garage is leaking now. It's leaking in that back corner over there. It leaks here as well. It started leaking here. As you can see, it started dripping on this. This car has been sitting in the bare metal for about 2 years now. That's the one thing about Arizona. There's hardly any humidity in the air when it's not raining or a monsoon season. Nothing rusts, but all the plastic and rubber just turns to dust, and same for upholstery. So now I gotta figure out what's there and what's not. The brackets are there, the lower brackets there, so that's good, and just the bolt, the actual bolt that holds the alternator to the block. I don't know if you guys can see it down there. There's the bracket there. So they got it out, so I don't need to move that pump. That pump sees too. It's lock solid. They normally are. The one on that car has been disconnected. It's got a smog pump on it, but it's not connected up. I'm just thinking, guys, got to figure out what I've got to do. I've got to figure out the wiring on this. I do have the original wiring diagrams for these vehicles. I've got to figure out, I know where those go, but where did this one go? It's a short wire, but I'll figure it out. So we'll get the alternator put in, because the alternator is part of the wiring system. It's got the power going in and out, so if it's disconnected, the rest of the vehicle probably doesn't get power. Because I hear the relay clicking. That's what you heard when I was turning the key. In these vehicles, there's a large relay on the back firewall. That's the main power relay. and it was clicking when I hooked the battery up because the ignition switch was still switched on. I'll show you what I mean. You'll hear it if I tap it. Yep. And that's all I was hearing clicking when I turned the key. I heard nothing. My dogs are walking around. Buddy, come on, what are you doing? Go on, wiggle that ass. Even the buzzer even still works. So, see, all I'm hearing is the relay clicking. I thought it was a solenoid, but it's a relay. So there's nothing happening in that starter motor at all. And that buzzer's annoying. Take the key out. Surprised it still works. No. So let me get everything ready and I'll be back with you. Take this battery out, got more room, and I'll probably set the camera up right here. Okay guys, it's a couple hours later. We do have some issues here. This engine had the voltage regulator on the back of the alternator, and this one doesn't have it, so I couldn't use it. But I do have a problem because when I jump the starter motor's not cranking. So I'm going to have to pull the starter motor out. They're the wires that go down to the starter motor. I don't know if you got that on the video or not. It's only a light wire too. It's overheating, so. But like I say, this has been chopped. This has been hacked and spliced. Something's going on here. There's the relay kicking back on. It's overheating. So they've been butchering this wiring. So, but I got my wire caught. I've got radiator hoses too. Forgot about those. I do have a starter motor here. It's a reman one. So I'm going to have to pull that starter motor out and switch it out because I think that starter motor is seized. So I don't know if that's got something to do with the alternator. They thought it was something wrong with the power. They thought the alternator was bad because the starter motor's not cranking. You never know. But I'll disconnect it. Sick of that buzzer. So I've got to figure out what's going on. The other thing too is starter switch, but I could have a bad neutral because the key's not throwing the signal. Actually, it's up here. The key's not throwing the signal for the solenoid when I try to crank it on the key, but when I jump it straight off the battery, it does. So I've got battery disconnected, but it did crank. So I've got to figure out what's going on. So I'm going to have to pull. I've already got it jacked up. I was hoping to get this wheel off, so this wheel is stuck. I know the lug nuts are back on it because I put it back on because I was underneath it. But with the wheel out of the way, it's got a little bit more room under here to get to that starter motor. With that, I've tried beating it with a hammer. That wheel is stuck on it. It's rusted around here. On that flange. So I've got to try and get this wheel off first. I'm not going to do this on camera. You guys have all taken wheels off before. Nothing special. So let me get this wheel off and then see if I can climb underneath. It'll give me more room to slide under here. I have a lift, but it's sitting underneath my Mustang and my Mustang has got no wheels, so I can't use it. And that lift's not the greatest either. It's not good for doing transmission work or anything. It's a snap-on one, but I brought it used. It's great for doing body work and brakes and stuff, but that's about it. It does lift the car all the way to the ceiling. So I'm kind of stuck right now figuring out what the cranking problem is. Could be the key switch too, that I'm not getting a signal. I think I haven't pulled one of these apart. I think these are like a typical Ford. The ignition switch is actually down on the steering column. The key only has a rod on it that goes down like a typical Ford. I think they are. I've not pulled one of these that far apart, but I can still jump it. I should be able to jump it with a I've got one of those push button starters. Where are we? A push button starter here somewhere. Where is it in here? Yep, here it is. I should be able to start it with one of these. Instead of walking to the key every 5 minutes or every 5 seconds, try and crank it and just push the button. So I can stick it on the battery terminal and on there, and then just hit the button to crank it. Because the starter motor should always have a hot 12 to it, no matter what. It's only the solenoid that throws it in and out, that switches it on, that activates it. And I do have power there. And I checked down below, I have got power because I could see the main cable. So I did check that. So I've either got probably a C starter motor or the solenoid is not making contact. Usually on those starter motors there's a big copper ring with 2 little plungers that kind of hit it, and that's what makes a full circuit for the starter motor, the crank. So maybe they're pitted, but I'm going to put that new starter motor in anyway, so we'll go from there. So I'll be back when I'm going to, off camera, I'm going to try and get this wheel off. And then on camera, I'll see if I can get to the starter motor. It's going to be awkward filming it underneath. But I'll try. I'll catch you soon. So I managed to get the wheel off. Had to use the big persuader. It took a bit of beating. Look at all the dirt down there that come off it. It was on tight. I'm going to have to get a wire wheel and clean up that hub. So next is the starter motor. But it's dinner time, so I'll be back in a couple of hours. Okay, I've got you set up. This is about the best I can do. My tripod doesn't go down far enough to sit on the ground and face upwards. This is as low as it is. So there's just 2 bolts holding this starter motor in right there. Oh, they're tight. I have to get a regular drive. I haven't disconnected the wires, got the battery disconnected. There's a little younger guys haven't done this before. You put 2 wrenches together, gives you a little more leverage. I think this is a different starter motor from the one I've got up on the shelf, so I may have to see if I can resurrect this one. Let's see what's wrong with it. I can't even disconnect the wires off that starter motor because they're right behind the exhaust manifold. I think you have to wire it up before you put it in. So there's one. and the other one's up top. See if I can see it. Where's the other one? Oh, where are you? I saw it before. I was looking at it. Oh, come on. Where is it? Where's the other bolt? Where is the bolt? I can't see it because this pipe's right in my view. I have to feel for it. Okay, where are you? I'll turn the camera off for a minute to figure out where this other bolt is. I can't see it, so I got to find it. So I found the other bolt. It's right where that eye is, the box end. It's right there. I have to put a socket set on it. I can't get the wrench on it. I might have to use a swivel. I didn't want to, but I think I have to. Okay. A lot of crud on there. I have to get a screwdriver and see if I can pick some of the crud away. Oh, this is awkward. Shorter extension. Come on. Gotta go to the back of the exhaust pipe. Trying to do this one-handed because the camera's in my way. Come on. I can't get the socket on the bolt head. It's covered, it's caked in crud. Oh, got it. Trying to. This camera won't go any lower. Damn it. It's right there. It's turning. To get it out a little bit, I can get the socket on it. These sockets are quite fat too, and they kind of, the walls are quite heavy, and sometimes they're too tight up against the bell housing to get them on there. Sorry if I'm bumping it, but it's the only way I can do this, because the camera's right in front of my face, so I can see what I'm doing. You could do this with a straight socket, but I wasn't expecting to do all this, so I might have to do it a little bit quicker with some swivel tools. Now it's getting tight. It's got dirt on the end of it. Now you guys can't see it, but right here is the ABS unit. These cars do have ABS. It looks like a brake booster, but it's the ABS unit. So I have to bump you. Oh, here it comes. Here's the bolt. Let's see if it's, yep, it's loose. Here we go. This out of the way. Maybe if I move the camera. So there's the starter motor. I had to fold the tripod up. So just got the handheld. The solenoid is on there. That's the solenoid up there. And the wires are in this here. The wires are right behind this exhaust pipe, so you can't even get to them. So you have to wire it up before you put it in. It's a lot easier. Let me get you set up. I'm just going to pull the camera back so you can see me try and wrangle this thing out of here, because it's going to be awkward. Now I'm going to try and tilt it and drop it. I may have to drop the idler arm to get it out. I've done these on earlier Fords, but not one of these. Like an FE engine, 390s, 352s. I'm just looking, see if I have to. I think I do. I think I've got to drop the drag link off the idler, just so it drops down and gives me more room to get this out. I don't think it's going to fit through here. Oh, it's tight. Oh, oh boy. That is tight. Ooh, I have to put a cheetah bar on there. Get a pipe, because I'm pushing on my car with my foot, and that is not budging. Ooh. Okay, along the bar. So I've got about a 3-foot cheetah bar here, pipe. God, man, it's tight. Oh, there's not coming off. Oh. I think I'm gonna bust my bar before I get that broken off. Oh, God damn, that's tight. Nope. Oh. Okay. I'll have to try that one. Dang, that was all tight. I'll put it back on later. Take this one off. Look at that. Bent the end of it. Cheap little pair. It's kind of awkward hammering it backwards. Broke them off too. Shit. These are junk. Whew. I'll do this off camera. Let's hope this one's not as tight. You'll probably get that one off with the impact gun. You don't want to be listening to a impact. Oh, okay, let's see how we go. Oh, that's better. That's better. Why did they put that one on so tight? Grab a pry bar. Oh, I should use the cheap bar. All right, need a pry bar. There we go. Now we can drop that. I'm done. Okay, that should be enough for the stuff. What a pain. It's hitting against this cross member. This solenoid is so big, it's hard up against the exhaust manifold there. I can jack the engine up just a little bit. I just got to clear this cross member here so I can get it under so it'll drop down, because it isn't quite, I don't have enough room. And this thing weighs a ton too, so I'm trying to maneuver it. Yeah. Oh, I tried to jack the engine up, but it's not even moving. Those mounts are solid. There's absolutely no give in them. I also noticed, I don't know if this is a replacement starter motor, there's something wrapped around the solenoid, and I'm hoping it's not asbestos. Come on. I can't quite get that nose up. How do they put it in here? I'm learning as you guys are learning, because I've not done a starter motor on one of these. So you've got to be able to get, oh, I'm going to squish my finger. You've got to be able to get that starter motor in and out. Just that very end tip. Oh, squish my finger. Dang. Do you have to undo the engine mounts to lift it? The problem is too, you guys can't see it, the exhaust manifold still has all the shields around it, and that's giving me less room to move as well. There's one wrapped around the pipe up here, there's another one down here, and that's what's jamming up against that solenoid. I can't slide it back. The engine mounts are right there too, yep. Yeah, the engine mounts right there. Not a good design. But like a Mopar's easy. I don't like this stuff here. I doubt it's asbestos because it's too late. They wouldn't have used it at that stage. Oh. I've got to figure this out somehow. Can't drop that pipe because it's connected to the other side. It's actually got a H pipe on it. I was going to drop that pipe out of the way and bring it over a little bit. But I have to drop both of them. I don't want to get that carried away with it. It still has the factory mufflers on it too. I looked earlier on. It's still got the Ford mufflers. That must be a factory H pipe. I think the car's only done like 57,000 miles, if I remember rightly. Not a high mileage car. God. Okay, so I'm going to try and take that cable off the back of the starter motor, the main power 12-volt cable, because it's sitting back quite a bit. It might give me just a little bit more room. I already started on it before I turn the camera on. Not a lot of room here. It's like little tiny turns at a time. So it's going to take me a while. I hate doing stuff. Oh, it's glued on there. Okay. Okay, so I managed to get the cable off the back. That'll give me a little bit more play. Oh, it's so close. There we go. There we go. One starter motor. That's all it needed. Okay, all this crap stuck around it. Oh, nasty looking shit. It's melted too. Something's been going on here. Let me just spray this down with water in case it is asbestos. If it's wet, it can't turn into dust and fly around. Just wet it down. Something's not right here. These wires are cooked. I think this is where our problem is. Ooh. If you guys can see this, I'll bring that camera down a little bit, sorry. These wires are all cooked. There's something going on here. And it's got all this paper stuff wrapped around it. I water it down in case it is asbestos. The dust doesn't fly around. But this wire is completely burnt. That's part of the solenoid. There should be two wires on there. One is a 12-volt feed, the main 12-volt feed, and then the starter relay. Oh, I don't like this stuff at all. Just very gently remove it. I don't know what the... To be honest, it looks like shit paper with plaster Paris in it. I don't know what the hell it is, but I'm not going to disturb it. Okay, so now let's take these two connections off. This one, it should be two wires, but get the vacuum and dry, suck that up. Okay, let's get that little wire off. It might be. I'm going to bench test this starter motor. See if it spins. Could grab a wrench, I guess. Most of you guys do the same stuff. Just whatever's handy. So a little 3/8 nuts. 5/16. I think they're 3/8. Also, I'll check the starter motor, see it's got dates on it, see if it's the original or it's a replacement. Okay. Okay. We'll get the setup on the bench. So I'll just clamp this down. I'll do it this way so you guys can see. Just clamp this in here, because if it spins, it's going to take off. It'll jump around a little bit. We're going to round up some jumper cables and the battery, and we'll see if the starter motor works or not. Okay, so I've got a battery. These jumper cables are nice, they've got the connector in the middle. So it also tells you if they're connected correctly. So when you unplug it, and you put that on a dead car, it should still light up the LED so you know the battery's connected correctly. Connect that on the ground. So I should be able to just, normally the cable comes off the battery onto this. Now these two throw the solenoid in, and that sends power around and into this. So if I jump this, the starter motor should spin. So this is the main cable going into the starter motor. Nope, that starter motor is seized. So I think we figured out why this car was parked up 40 years ago. Nope. Okay, so the starter motor's jammed up. Let's see. I want to clamp it on that, just on that flange here. Should be enough to. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to pull the starter motor apart and see what's wrong with it. Might be full of dirt. It's definitely stuck, so grab some tools. Sorry about that. Got 3/8 drive. I could use socket set. Just as quick. That one was loose. Now this plate is probably so you can line the brushes up again. If I pull that cap off, the brushes are probably going to pop. Yep. Let's see. It's a little square nut. Oop, parts fell out of it. What fell out of there? Oh yeah, the starter motor is shot. As soon as I pulled that cover off, you guys can see this. This starter motor is completely done. The windings are completely destroyed. So there's the problem with the car. See if I can get this cap off. It's probably just stuck in the grease in the bearing, in the rear bush. Doesn't matter if I screw it up because it's shot anyway. Oh yeah, it's done. Scraping the dirt out of the slot. This one is not going to move. Screws. There's hardly any slot in the screw. There we go. There we go. See, it's all chewed up. Brushes. One brush is gone. Completely gone. This starter motor is completely look at the destruction in there. All that. It's ripped all the copper tubing off. Not tubing, the wires. Should be another brush in here somewhere. I'm missing a brush. There it is. It was stuck to the other one because I was missing a brush out of here. Yep, so I'm going to have to go and get a starter motor. I thought I had one up on the shelf, but it's a different type. It's the earlier one. I think it's an FE style. So, see how much a reman starter motor is. But we figured out why the car was parked up. I don't know why they took the alternator off. Like I say, somebody may have snuck into the old man's yard and stole it, but maybe they thought the alternator was bad and why nothing was working. That they thought they had a dead battery. But it's not a dead battery, it's a dead starter motor. Man, I can't believe how chopped up it is. It completely ripped all the copper out, completely snapped them off. I wonder what's caused that. I know, like these cars are a pain to start if you've driven them and you go and jump in them the next day, because like I've said before, the carburetors boil out and you got to crank and crank and crank to get fuel back up into that carburetor. A lot of guys do put EFI on, but I like to keep my cars original. But maybe he just kept on cranking this thing and just overheated it and it just self-destructed. Damn. I mean, it's just full. Well, they want a core, they're getting a core. Because actually that solenoid looks new. I don't know if you guys can notice that. It's quite shiny and new. Maybe they thought they could throw a solenoid on it and that would fix it. Because I know it's not the original solenoid, because there's a slot screw there and a Phillips head screw there. So this has been replaced. I bet you they thought that's what was wrong. They put it in, it still didn't start, so they thought, oh, maybe the alternator's bad. Let's see if I can pull this out. Put the camera back up. Oh, another thing before I go any further, I always wear Ray-Bans. Don't leave them laying around underneath car wheels. You run over them. These ones are too. I ran them over, broke them, screwed them back together. These are my garage ones. But yeah, I ran over these the other day. I sold a Mark IV to a guy in town. He needed the engine out of it. And I was putting the cable and that on the car, and all the chains and the straps, and I forgot they were sitting on the trailer, and when I unloaded it, crunch. And I got these ones out of Italy too. They're actually directly from Ray-Ban in Italy. I'll use them as garage glasses. I'll drill a little hole in there, maybe two, because I learned with this one, I glued them back together with JB Weld, and there's a pin in there, but they still flop. So I'll put 2 pins in there and JB Weld it back together. They're good for garage glasses. I love Ray-Bans. Well, let me put you down and see if I can get this armature out of here. It doesn't matter if I mess it up, because it's done anyway. Oh. Take that strap off. Take the whole thing apart. These and stuff. So here's the throw out. I don't know if can you see that? Yeah, just making sure your camera can see. This is how it actuates. You activate the starter motor, and this sits on here, and it throws it out, and that's how you get engagement. So I may save this. It's probably still good. Yeah, it's a aftermarket one. Excellent. Housing's probably still good, so I'll save that. Don't throw parts away. The armature's bad, unless they want a core, but here we go. And look at that. That's what it should look like. Oop. Doesn't smell hot, like it burnt. But maybe it got overheated and they kind of got soft and came out. And then hit something, and that's how they got torn apart. But even in here, it's all chewed out. Yeah, the starter motor is done. But like I say, I'll keep the solenoid. It's a replacement. It works because I fired it and it kicked on, but starter motor didn't turn. So that's about as far as we're going to go with this old girl for now, until we get a starter motor. But yeah, I've never seen one like that. Usually they go bad because the brushes are wore out and you don't get any contact, and they just get slower and slower. Or you get heat sink, where the starter motor's too close to the exhaust, and heat just eats them up too. You'll know that when you got a hot engine and it just won't start, and then when you wait to let it cool off, then it cranks again. So that's heat sink in your starter motor. That's why they put shields over them. But I mean, I don't know. That's somebody's done that. There's a big blob of solder in there. I could pull the starter motor out of the other car, but I think I'll throw a new one in it. I'm keeping this car. This is not a flip car. You know, I'm not doing this just to flip it. This car's a keeper. The interior is nice. Just got to get a dash pad. That's all I need for the interior. I'm going to change the color. I don't like that white, that blue. I'm going to paint it metallic aqua, like a teal aqua color. Damn. Okay guys, that's it for the night. Disconnect that. Then I'll be back when I find a starter motor. I don't want to start on the Mercury until this car's running. I told Ryan the other day, I'm not going to start on your car until this thing's rolling out of here on its own power. Because I haven't got room to work on two vehicles in here. I could pull another car out, but I'm supposed to get snow tomorrow, 6 to 8 inches. So I don't like leaving my cars outside. And I got the gold car still sitting outside. And I threw a small tarp over it, just enough to cover the roof and the vent in the back, so it doesn't get rain or water in there. I'm not worried about the paint getting wet, but I don't want the roof getting wet. Yeah. So there we go. One dead starter motor. Yeah, I'm still shaking my head about how destroyed it is. Little parts coming out of it. The housing's still good, it's not busted. So I'll keep it. Put it on the part shelf. So the thing that too is where I live, I'm not near any junkyards or big populations where there's more of these cars laying around. I've got to ship them all down to me because I'm only like 20 miles from the Mexican border in a little town. And I got 3 Lincolns out of town, so I think I got all the Mark IIIs there ever was here. So I can't just go to a junkyard and buy parts. That's why I've got so many cars. It's easier to just buy a whole car and try and scrounge parts up. I could go to Desert Valley, but they think everything's gold plated up there. I bought parts off them once and that was it. And that wasn't for me, it was for someone else. When I was still back in New Zealand, I came here on vacation and brought a grill for a 71 Charger, and this was back in 2001. They charged me like $500 for a grill, but the guy wanted it, so I thought that was a rip-off. $500 for a grill. 2 pieces of plastic. So I'm just looking, it's definitely burnt there. I wonder if there's, like I say, that these got so hot they just got soft and melted. Just came out and they just got tore to pieces. There's definitely a burn. I don't know if you guys can see it. It's definitely a burn in here. This side's fine. It's all nice and still got the clear coating on it, shielding. But here, can't see it. Even here it's black, and then here it's red. I think it's got like a red, browny red coating on the copper. But those rebuild guys will still rebuild these. They'll pull the copper out of them and rebuild them. It's quite a good number of videos on YouTube. Back in the Middle East they do it mainly. They rebuild starter motors like this. It's amazing what those guys can do in a little shed. Alright, good night guys. no, I'm done. Yeah, I'm just back again for a minute. If you remember earlier on, I said something wasn't right. This was all burnt. I don't know if you can see it. It's melted. So that starter motor must have shorted out finally and cooked that positive cable. Actually, no, this is a negative. The negative cooked because it's completely burnt. So it definitely shorted out. Somebody mentioned too that these are the original hoses, the original clamps, original yellow lines. So the original hose. I've got a set of hoses for it. The heater disconnected. Usually the heaters are bypassed on these. The heater cores leak because they're a pain to get out. But it's still plumbed. AC still plumbed in. Don't know if it's got any gas in it. I've got the equipment to do it. I've got my gauges up there. Compressor. I've actually got a AC machine down there as well. R12 and 134. Because you definitely need air conditioning here in Arizona. Well, that's a bit of a bummer. But that's life. Can't all be easy. If it was easy, I wouldn't have a channel, I guess. I'd just throw a battery in it, turn the key and drive it, and that's the end of the saga. I'm just looking around, see if I can see anything else that's kind of messed up. But like I say, I was looking at that wiring earlier on. I still don't think the key is correct. For some reason, the starter wire, the solenoid wire, is hot all the time, even with the key off. So I'm wondering if the ignition switch on the steering column is jammed up or out of sync, because there's a rod that comes from the steering wheel down to the bottom of the steering column. They're like the Ford trucks. They've got the same setup. Everyone thinks the switch is actually in the back of the key, but there's nothing there. It's just a little lever with a rod. So they're actually not too hard to get to. So, but I can start this car without the key and just jump it with my starter button, just to see if this thing will start up and crank once I put another starter motor in there. Alright guys, yeah, but I was just looking at this cable. That's why it's melted. This one's melted too. It's all got hot. So that starter motor must have disintegrated and then shorted itself out. It's shorted out the cables. Because I'm not seeing, this is the ground cable that's going straight to the engine. I'm not seeing a strap going. It's usually on the back of the engine, but normally they have one up here as well. It's a lot easier than trying to mess around on the back of the engine with the straps. And I got to sort out that alternator. Got to figure out if this one has a regulator on the back or not. But it's not the end of the world. I can figure that out, because I can check on these cars how the wiring goes back together. It's been a while since I put an alternator on. Alternator wires here. That's a ground strap there. Okay guys, good night. I'm tired.